The year is 480 BC, and the vast Persian Empire has set its eyes on the rival Greek city-states. With a massive army at his command, Persian King Xerxes I seeks to punish the Greeks for the humiliating defeat his father Darius suffered a decade earlier at the Battle of Marathon. To achieve this goal, he marches his massive army north into Greece, hoping to crush the city-state's resistance once and for all. But the Greeks have other plans. In this video, we are going to look at the Battle of Thermopylae, where a small force of Spartans and other Greek volunteers held off a massive Persian army for 3 days before making a heroic last stand. The Battle of Thermopylae is considered one of the most important battles in ancient history. Despite being outnumbered 10-1, the Spartans and their small allied force managed to hold off the invading Persian army for 3 days, inflicting heavy casualties on the enemy and allowing time for the rest of the Greek forces to prepare their defenses. And even though the Greeks would eventually lose the battle, it has become a legendary example of courage, selflessness, and determination in the face of impossible odds. But what made the Greeks decide to make a stand here? What was the outcome of the battle, and why do we still remember it today? Let's find out. As Xerxes' massive army advanced north through the narrow mountain pass at Thermopylae, which means hot gates, the Greeks defending the pass had a big advantage. As the name suggests, the pass was actually famous for its hot thermal springs, but it was also narrow enough that only a few thousand soldiers could fight at a time. This was fortunate for the Greek defenders because, as we said before, the Persian army was huge, numbering in the hundreds of thousands. But it meant that the bulk of the Persian army had to wait outside the pass while only a few thousand soldiers were able to fight at a time. For the Greek commander Leonidas, this was perfect. He wanted to draw the Persians into the pass and fight them there, because with the high ground and their superior fighting skills, the Greeks could more than hold their own against the numerically superior Persians. However, things were not looking good for the Greeks. The Greek force defending Thermopylae numbered no more than 7,000 men, according to Herodotus, the Greek historian who wrote about this battle. Out of these 7,000 troops, only 300 were actual Spartans. The other troops were volunteers from other Greek city-states like Thebes, Corinth, and Megara. Leonidas had expected more troops to come and join him at Thermopylae, but many of the Greek leaders refused to march their men into certain death. Even though the Spartans and their allies were heavily outnumbered, they were confident in their ability to defeat the Persians. The Spartans were some of the best fighters in the Greek world. They had been training for war since they were boys and were renowned for their discipline, courage, and skill in battle. Their equipment was also top-notch, and their armor and weapons were some of the finest that ancient Greece had to offer. The first 2 days of the battle went exactly as Leonidas had hoped. His troops held firm against the massive Persian attacks, inflicting heavy casualties on the enemy and repelling wave after wave of Persian soldiers. The Persians were a diverse bunch. The army that Xerxes raised from the many subject peoples of his empire included infantry, archers, horsemen, and even camel riders. And although they were outclassed individually by the Greeks, they had several advantages. One of their most elite units was the Immortals, the king's personal bodyguard, a unit of 10,000 warriors who were nearly as numerous as the entire Spartan force. The Immortals were well-trained, highly disciplined, and equipped with the finest weapons and armor. They were tasked with protecting the king at all costs and were said to be nearly invincible in battle. Another advantage the Persians had was their sheer numbers. Although the Greeks were better fighters, the Persians had so many soldiers that even if each Greek killed 10 Persians, it wouldn't make a dent in their numbers. By the 3rd day, the Persians were exhausted and frustrated by their inability to break through the Greek lines. The Greek defenders had proven to be fierce and unrelenting, and the Persians were starting to suffer heavy losses. But Xerxes, eager to crush the Greek rebellion and avenge his father's defeat at Marathon, was not willing to give up. According to Herodotus, Xerxes became increasingly angry and desperate as the days passed and the Persians continued to take heavy losses. He offered the Greeks generous terms, promising them land and treasure if they would lay down their arms and surrender. But Leonidas rejected the offer, determined to fight to the death rather than surrender to the Persians. It seemed that the battle would continue like this for many more days, with the Persians suffering heavy losses for little gain. But then a local Greek named Ephialtes betrayed his fellow Greeks and revealed a secret path that led through the mountains around the pass. This path was unknown to the Greeks and would allow Xerxes' army to bypass the narrow pass and attack the Greeks from behind. Upon hearing this news, Leonidas knew that his position was hopeless. With a mountain range full of winding paths behind them, the Greeks were effectively trapped in the pass with no way out. Leonidas ordered most of the Greek troops to withdraw, leaving him and his 300 Spartans, plus about 1,000 other warriors from other Greek states, to hold off the Persian army as long as possible. This was a tragic decision, but it was necessary to ensure that the Greek army would live to fight another day. With the knowledge that his army would soon be coming under attack from two sides, Leonidas made a final stand at the narrowest part of the pass. There they fought bravely, killing many Persians and holding off the enemy until their shields were shattered and their spears were broken. Eventually, the Persians overwhelmed the Greeks, killing or capturing all of them except for Leonidas. According to Herodotus, Leonidas was killed by an arrow through his eye. Even though the Spartans lost the battle, their sacrifice was far from in vain. While the Spartans fought to the death at Thermopylae, the rest of the Greek army used the time to escape and regroup. They were now aware of the strength and cunning of the Persian army and took steps to ensure that they would be ready to defend themselves when the Persians arrived. One of the most significant outcomes of Thermopylae was the Battle of Salamis that took place shortly after. The Spartan sacrifice allowed the Greek navy to regroup and defeat the Persian fleet, preventing Xerxes from invading Greece. The Spartans may have lost the battle at Thermopylae, but they won the war, ensuring that Greece would remain free from Persian domination. Today, the story of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae is remembered as an epic tale of courage, selflessness, and determination. The Spartans and their allies showed incredible bravery in the face of impossible odds, and their sacrifice inspired the rest of the Greek army to victory in the war. The story of Thermopylae has been told and retold throughout history, inspiring countless works of art, literature, and film. The bravery of the 300 Spartans has become a symbol of human courage, and their sacrifice has become a timeless example of the power of the human spirit. The defeat of the Persians at Salamis had far-reaching consequences for the ancient world. It marked the end of Persian domination in Greece and prevented the destruction of Greek culture and society. The Greek victory at Salamis is considered one of the most important events in the history of Western civilization. Without the victory at Salamis, it's possible that the ancient Greek world as we know it would not have existed. Instead, Greece would have been a province of the Persian Empire, and the contributions of Greek culture and philosophy to the Western world would have been lost forever. So what can we learn from the Battle of Thermopylae? First, we see the importance of planning and strategy. Leonidas and the Greek commanders made a conscious decision to fortify the narrow pass at Thermopylae, knowing that it would allow them to leverage their smaller force against the larger Persian army. By choosing to fight in the pass, the Greeks were able to inflict heavy casualties on the Persians, slowing down their advance and buying time for the rest of the Greek forces to prepare their defenses. Second, we see the importance of discipline and training. The Spartans were renowned for their discipline and training, and their ability to maintain their formation and resist the Persian attacks was crucial to their success. The phalanx formation, where rows of soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, each armed with a shield and spear, was an effective military tactic that the Greeks used to great advantage at Thermopylae. Finally, we see the importance of sacrifice and courage. The Spartans' willingness to sacrifice themselves and hold off the Persian army at Thermopylae was crucial to the eventual Greek victory. The Spartans knew that they were outnumbered and outgunned, but they were willing to give their lives to protect their homeland and way of life. The story of the Spartans at Thermopylae is an epic tale of courage, selflessness, and determination. Their sacrifice inspired the rest of the Greek army to victory, and their bravery has become a symbol of the human spirit. The Spartans showed us that even in the face of impossible odds, we should never give up hope. We should always strive to protect our homeland and way of life, and that sometimes the greatest victories come from the smallest forces when they are willing to sacrifice everything. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and joining our community. Your support helps us to keep bringing these videos to life and ensures that we can continue sharing historical stories with you. Also, let us know in the comments below what you think Leonidas and the Spartans did right and wrong at Thermopylae. As always, don't forget to check out our other videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. In the annals of history, few battles resonate with the enduring power of the last stand of the Spartans at Thermopylae. This heroic tale of courage and sacrifice has captivated the imaginations of people for centuries, becoming a timeless symbol of unwavering bravery in the face of overwhelming odds. Let's start by talking about the situation in 480 BC UC. The Greco-Persian Wars were more than just clashes between two powerful civilizations. They were a collision of two distinct ways of life, each vying for supremacy. On one side stood the Persians, whose vast empire stretched from the Balkans to the Indus Valley. They were known for their massive armies, composed of diverse peoples united under the banner of the Achaemenid kings. Meanwhile, the Greeks, though divided among numerous independent city-states, shared a common language, culture, and a deep reverence for their traditions. Each polis, such as Athens, Sparta, Thebes, and Corinth, had its own government, laws, and ambitions. However, the growing threat posed by the Persians forced them to set aside their differences and unite against a common enemy. Now, by 480 BCE, the Persians had already tasted victory in the opening campaigns of the war. The Greek city of Eretria had fallen, and the Persians were marching north with intentions to conquer all of Greece. And this is where our story begins, at the hot springs of Thermopylae, a narrow mountain pass that served as a gateway to central Greece. The Persian king Xerxes I, eager to crush the Greek rebellion once and for all, dispatched his massive army through this strategic choke point. Now, ancient accounts of the size of Xerxes' army vary, but historians estimate that the invading force may have comprised hundreds of thousands of troops. Among them were seasoned veterans from across the empire, including the elite immortals, an elite guard of 10,000 soldiers. On the other side of the pass stood a force of around 7,000 Greek soldiers, led by the Spartan king Leonidas I. His small band included 300 Spartans. Helots, that's the Spartan term for slaves, and 4,000 to 600 allied troops from other Greek city-states. While the Greeks were heavily outnumbered, they were strategically positioned in the narrow confines of the pass. This natural barrier neutralized the Persian numerical advantage, turning what might have been a rout into a potential stalemate. The hot sun beat down on the soldiers as they awaited the coming battle. Both sides were tense, ready to unleash the fury that had been building since the first clash of arms between the two civilizations. And then it happened. The Persian army surged forward, crashing into the Greek lines. Spears clashed, shields buckled, and the air filled with the sounds of combat. The Greek phalanx formation proved remarkably effective, repelling wave after wave of Persian attacks. But the Spartans alone couldn't hold off the seemingly endless Persian onslaught forever. Night fell, and with it, the ferocity of the fighting subsided, yet neither side gave an inch. As dawn broke on the second day, the Persians returned to the attack. Again and again, they tested the Greek defenses, but each assault was met with equal resistance. By now, whispers of the Spartans' valor had begun to spread, carrying tales of their unflinching bravery. And then on the third day, the unthinkable happened. According to ancient accounts, a local herdsman named Ephialtes betrayed the Greeks, revealing a hidden mountain path that led to the rear of the Greek position. The next day, a portion of the Persian army surprised the Greeks from the rear, and realizing the trap, Leonidas dismissed most of the Greek allies, giving them the option to retreat, which is what most of them did. He, however, decided to stay with his 300 Spartans and a handful of Thespians who chose to remain. From a purely strategic standpoint, It might seem as though Leonidas made a terrible mistake, abandoning the hard-won defensive position and his allies. But here's the thing, Leonidas wasn't just thinking about the battle. He was also thinking about the bigger picture. You see, by staying behind, Leonidas and his men bought precious time for the rest of Greece to prepare for the coming Persian invasion. It was a selfless act, a sacrifice that would echo through the ages. You see, even though the official number of Spartans present at Thermopylae is commonly accepted to be 300, the actual number might have been higher, perhaps as high as 1,000 or more. This discrepancy arises because ancient sources sometimes provide conflicting or incomplete information, leaving room for different interpretations. Let me explain. Herodotus, who wrote in the 5th century BCE, states that Leonidas led 300 men into battle, while Plutarch, writing centuries later, mentions 1,000 Spartans participating in the defense of Thermopylae. These differing accounts have given rise to questions and debates among historians regarding the actual strength of the Spartan force. Some scholars argue that Herodotus's account is more reliable, citing the consistency of his work. Others, however, suggest that Plutarch's version, though later, might offer a more accurate representation of the events. To complicate matters further, other ancient sources, such as the orations of Thucydides, refer to a much larger Greek force at Thermopylae, including significant contingents from neighboring city-states. This apparent discrepancy can be partially attributed to the fluidity of the situation. As the Battle of Thermopylae unfolded, more Greek reinforcements arrived, drawn to the site of conflict by the call to arms. Initially, Leonidas may have chosen to hold the pass with only his elite Spartan force, but as the gravity of the situation became apparent, other Greek city-states sent additional troops to bolster their ranks. But wait, there's more. We have to remember that during ancient warfare, troop numbers often changed. Soldiers might desert, become casualties, or reinforcements could arrive unexpectedly. Therefore, pinpointing an exact figure for the size of the Spartan force at Thermopylae remains a challenge. Perhaps we lines never know the exact number of Spartans and their allies who stood alongside them at Thermopylae. The uncertainty surrounding troop numbers underscores the complexities of studying ancient conflicts. Ancient records were not always comprehensive or accurate, and often the true scale of battles was much different than what was recorded. As the final hours ticked away, Leonidas and his men prepared for their last stand. Knowing that escape was impossible, they dug in, reinforced their positions, and sharpened their weapons. When the Persians launched their final assault, the Spartans were ready. The air grew thick with the clash of steel, the rattle of arrows, and the shouts of men locked in mortal combat. Spartan shields, adorned with the emblem of their fierce black dogs, stood firm against the Persian onslaught. Their swords and spears flashed into sunlight, carving paths of destruction through the ranks of the enemy. The Spartan hoplites, their bodies glistening with sweat and blood, fought like cornered lions, their movements a deadly ballet of controlled aggression. Each thrust, each parry was a testament to years of rigorous training, each warrior determined to die on his feet rather than live on his knees. As the battle raged, the Spartans picked off the Persian nobility, their keen eyes spotting weaknesses in their enemy's armor. The immortals, with their elaborate headdresses and ornate armor, fell victim to Spartan discipline and determination. One by one, the Persian leaders tasted the bite of Spartan steel. With every fallen noble, the Persian ranks grew more disordered, the effectiveness of their attacks diminishing with each wave of assault. Amidst the chaos, Spartan King Leonidas fell, mortally wounded by an arrow through his neck. Yet even in death, he remained a symbol of courage. Surrounded, the remaining Spartans and their allies fought until their very last breath. Finally, when their bodies lay strewn across the battlefield, the Persians, at a staggering cost, secured the pass. The Spartans, true to their word, had bought time for the rest of Greece. News of Thermopylae spread like wildfire, galvanizing the Greek city-states. Athens, in particular, was inspired to resist the Persians. As Athenian historian and general Simon once said, "We may well hold out against the barbarians, For we know that we are fighting for our country, for our hearts, for our altars, for our religion, and they did just that. The Greek navy triumphed at Salamis, and the following year, at Plataea, the land-based Greek forces decisively defeated the Persians. After the dust settled, the consequences of Thermopylae became clear. Although the Spartans lost the battle, they won something far more significant, the Battle of Hearts and Minds. Thermopylae became a pivotal moment in the Greco-Persian Wars, inspiring the Greeks to fight on and ultimately triumph over the mighty Persian Empire. The Spartans' sacrifice at Thermopylae didn't merely shape the course of a war. It left an indelible mark on the cultural landscape of ancient Greece. It was a defining moment that elevated Sparta to legendary status, showcasing their military prowess and unwavering commitment to freedom. The Spartans' refusal to bend before the might of the Persian Empire resonated deeply within the Hellenic world, transforming Thermopylae into a symbol of resistance against tyranny. And that's why today, 2,500 years later, the story of the 300 still inspires us. And that, my friends, is the end of our video today. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to show your support. Until next time, keep learning and stay curious. The year is 480 BC, and amidst the bloody conflict between the Greeks and the Persians, one man stands out as a symbol of courage and sacrifice. Leonidas, king of Sparta and leader of the 300 Spartan warriors who fought to the death at the Pass of Thermopylae, also known as the Hot Gates. With an enemy force estimated to be at least 10 times their size, the Spartans faced an almost impossible task. Yet they stood firm for 3 days against the massive Persian army led by the ruthless King Xerxes I, holding off wave after wave of attacks before finally succumbing to treachery and overwhelming odds. But why did the Spartans choose to fight this seemingly hopeless battle? What was the real reason behind their decision to stand firm against the Persians? And what can we learn from the incredible story of Leonidas and his men? Join us as we uncover the secrets of the legendary Battle of Thermopylae and explore the fascinating insights provided by the ancient historians, including Herodotus, Plutarch, and Diodorus Siculus. Get ready to be inspired by the courage and determination of the Spartans as we delve into the tactics and strategies they employed to hold off the Persian invaders. We will analyze the geographical factors that gave them the upper hand and examine the psychological impact of their valiant stand on both the Persians and the rest of the Greek city-states. You won't want to miss this epic tale of heroism and sacrifice. So sit back, relax, and let the adventure begin. But before we dive into the Battle of Thermopylae, we must first understand the larger conflict in which it took place. The Greco-Persian Wars. This series of conflicts between the Greeks and the Persians lasted for more than a century. Beginning in the late 6th century BC, the immediate cause of the wars was the growing power of the Persian Empire, which under the reign of King Cyrus the Great had expanded to include many of the Greek city-states along the coast of Asia Minor. However, the Persians' attempts to control these city-states led to resentment and rebellion among the Greeks, who valued their independence and autonomy. The situation escalated in 490 BC when the Persians invaded the island of Euboea, prompting the Spartans to send aid. While this initial Persian campaign was eventually repelled, it marked the beginning of a larger struggle for dominance between the two civilizations. As the Persian Empire continued to expand, the Greeks found themselves increasingly threatened by their powerful neighbor. In response, they formed alliances and prepared to resist any further attempts at conquest. Now let's delve into the events leading up to the Battle of Thermopylae. By 480 BC, the Persian king Xerxes I had assembled a massive army with the goal of conquering the rest of Greece. His forces included soldiers from all across his vast empire, from the elite Persian immortals to the Medians, Egyptians, and others. According to the historian Herodotus, Xerxes' army numbered somewhere between 200,000 and 1,000,000 soldiers, making it one of the largest military forces ever assembled up to that point in history. The Greeks, meanwhile, were caught off guard by the suddenness and scale of the Persian invasion. Despite their valiant efforts to resist, they were severely outnumbered. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the Greek leaders called for a meeting at the Isthmus of Corinth to discuss their options. Their representatives from all the city-states met and ultimately decided to form a united front against the common enemy. An army was raised consisting of 7,000 hoplites, heavily armed infantrymen considered the backbone of Greek military forces. Of these, 300 were Spartiates, full-time professional soldiers from the elite military state of Sparta. Leonidas, the Spartan king, was chosen to lead this force, along with other notable figures such as King Themistocles of Athens and the brothers Cleomenes and Leotychides from Sparta. As the Greek army prepared for battle, the question of where to fight the Persians became a crucial strategic decision. Ultimately, they chose the narrow pass of Thermopylae, a strategic location that would allow them to make maximum use of their hoplite formations and minimize the advantages of the numerically superior Persian army. The pass, also known as the Hot Gates, was a defile about 6 miles long with towering limestone cliffs on either side that funneled down to a narrow corridor of just 26 feet or 8 meters wide in some places. This natural bottleneck was ideal for defending a smaller force against a larger one, since it prevented the Persians from deploying their massive army in its entirety and forced them to attack in small groups. Additionally, the hot climate of the region made it difficult for the Persians to maneuver and sustain their troops, giving the Greeks an edge in terms of endurance. With their forces in place, the Greek army awaited the arrival of the Persian army. On the first day, the Persians attacked in full force, sending wave after wave of soldiers against the Greek lines. However, they were met with fierce resistance at every turn, and by the end of the day, they had suffered heavy casualties without making any significant gains. The second day saw similar attacks from the Persians, who continued to push against the Greeks in an attempt to break their lines. But again, they were unsuccessful and suffered even greater losses. As the sun set on the second day, it became clear to the Persians that they would not be able to defeat the Greeks through sheer numbers alone. They needed a different strategy if they were going to win the battle. It was at this point that the Persians attempted to outmaneuver the Greeks by sending a detachment of horsemen along a mountain ridge to flank them. However, the Greek scouts were vigilant and spotted the approaching horsemen. Upon realizing that the Persians were attempting to encircle them, the Greeks knew that they were in a perilous situation. If the Persians managed to get behind their lines, they would be in grave danger. But despite the urgency of the situation, Leonidas made a crucial decision that would ensure the safety of his army. He chose not to abandon his position and flee, nor did he order his men to retreat, though this may have been an option. Instead, he and his men stood firm and prepared to fight to the death. This decision was a testament to the Spartans' unwavering bravery and their commitment to their duty. They knew that their fate was uncertain, but they were willing to sacrifice everything to protect their homeland and their way of life. In the end, Leonidas and his men fought valiantly, but the Persians were ultimately victorious. The Spartans were killed in battle, but their sacrifice was not in vain. Their bravery inspired other Greeks to fight back against the Persians, and they succeeded in delaying Xerxes' advance long enough for the rest of the Greek forces to mobilize and prepare for the coming war. The Battle of Thermopylae has been immortalized in history as a testament to the bravery and sacrifice of the Spartans and other Greeks who fought against the massive Persian army. It is a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, courage and determination can make a difference. Leonidas and his men may have lost their lives, but their legacy lives on in the hearts and minds of those who admire their bravery and their unwavering commitment to their homeland. The story of the 300 Spartans has been told and retold throughout history, inspiring countless works of art, literature, and film. And the lessons they taught us about courage, sacrifice, and the importance of standing up for what we believe in continue to be relevant today. And there you have it, folks, the incredible story of Leonidas and the 300 Spartans who fought to the death at the pass of Thermopylae. These brave warriors may have been outnumbered and outgunned, but they stood firm against the massive Persian army and made an indelible mark on history. Their bravery and sacrifice not only bought time for the rest of the Greek forces to mobilize, but also served as an inspiration for resistance against tyranny and oppression. So remember the Spartans, and let their story remind you that even in the darkest of times, courage can shine through. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for more epic tales from history. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. So the year is 480 BCE, and the setting is the strategically important northern coastal pass of Thermopylae. Here, King Leonidas of Sparta commands a small but elite force of 300 Spartan warriors along with a few thousand allied Greeks who are set to defend against the colossal invading Persian army under the command of Xerxes I. Xerxes' massive invasion force, which according to ancient historians numbers in the millions, though modern estimates put it closer to the hundreds of thousands, is poised to crush the meager Greek resistance. The odds are heavily stacked against Leonidas and his men, yet they stand firm ready to defy the coming storm. As dawn breaks over the pass, the first stirrings of the Persian army reach Leonidas' camp. Scouts report the approach of horsemen, and soon the thunder of marching feet and the clash of arms echoes through the mountains. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, the full force of the Persian onslaught becomes apparent. Wave after wave of soldiers, diverse in their origins yet united under the banner of Xerxes, surge forward. The Spartans, heeding Leonidas' orders, stand firm behind their unbreakable phalanx formation, a wall of overlapping shields and bristling spears. When the first Persian column reaches the pass, the Greek line holds firm. The disciplined Spartans, renowned for their martial prowess, stand shoulder to shield, forming an impenetrable bulwark against the advancing foe. As the Persians close in, the air grows thick with the scent of sweat and blood. Spears flash in the sunlight and the din of battle rises to a deafening roar. The Persians attack with relentless fury, but their assaults only serve to strengthen the Spartans' resolve. Each repelled attack only fueling their determination to hold the pass at all costs. For 2 days, the battle rages, neither side able to gain the upper hand. The Persians, though superior in numbers, cannot break through the disciplined Greek ranks. The Spartans, though weary, refuse to yield ground. But as the third day dawns, the situation changes dramatically. The Persians, seeking a decisive advantage, throw in their elite shock troops, the Immortals, whose ranks are filled with seasoned veterans. As the Immortals charge, a ripple of concern runs through the Greek lines. The Spartans, though undaunted, know that they are facing their toughest opponents yet. But even as the Immortals press their attack, a Greek soldier raises an urgent call. He has seen a way around the pass. Realizing the danger, Leonidas dismisses most of the Greek allies, thanking them for their valor and sacrifice. But he decides to hold the pass with a small force of 300 Spartans and a few hundred others, buying time for the rest of the Greeks to retreat and regroup. His decision is met with both admiration and sorrow. The allies understand the gravity of their Spartan brethren's sacrifice, but respect their determination to stand firm. With a heavy heart, the allies withdraw from the pass, leaving Leonidas and his men to face their fate. With the allies gone, Leonidas and his men settle in for a final stand. They know that their fate is sealed, but they are determined to make it a costly victory for the Persians. Night falls over Thermopylae, and with it comes a sense of foreboding. The Spartans, camped on a small strip of land overlooking the sea, watch as the Persians seize the high ground above them. The wind carries the sounds of celebrating to the Greeks, a grim reminder of the fate that awaits them. Sleep is a luxury they cannot afford. For Leonidas and his men, the night is filled with quiet preparations. They sharpen their spears, check their armor, and say their final prayers. The Spartans recall their traditions, their lineage, and the sacrifices made by those who came before them. They remember the words of their ancestors and the teachings of their elders. They reminisce about their families and their homeland, their thoughts drifting to the warm hearts and familiar faces they may never see again. The Spartans share stories and jokes, trying to lighten the mood and keep their spirits high. They sing songs of courage and valor, their voices echoing in the darkness. Some play their instruments, filling the night with mournful melodies. They eat their last meal together, sharing their rations and remembering the feasts they've shared in better times. They drink their last drinks, raising their cups in a final toast to their comradeship and their cause. The night wears on and the Spartans await the coming dawn. They know that when the sun rises, so will the Persians, and the final battle will begin. They are ready. The next morning, as the Persian army assembles for their final assault, Xerxes addresses his troops. He boasts of his impending victory and goads his men to finish off the stubborn Greeks once and for all. As the sun climbs higher, the Persian army surges forward, eager to claim their long-awaited victory. The Greeks stand firm, their numbers depleted but their spirits unbroken. As the battle rages, the Spartans fight with the ferocity of cornered lions. Their blades flash, their shields clash, and their shouts of defiance echo through the pass. But despite their valiant efforts, the Spartans are slowly being overwhelmed. Their numbers dwindle, their strength wanes, and the prospect of total annihilation looms ever closer. As the battle reaches its climax, Leonidas, wounded and weary, continues to fight with unwavering determination. But even his legendary courage cannot overcome the sheer weight of the Persian army. One by one, the Spartans fall, each man meeting his fate with stoic bravery. Finally, Leonidas, realizing that the end is near, calls for a final stand. He gathers what remains of his men, and they form a circle, back to back, their shields locked in a desperate defense. Surrounded, outnumbered, and wounded, they fight with every ounce of strength they have left. Their blades sing a song of defiance, their shields bear the brunt of the Persian onslaught. But even as they fight, they know that their fate is sealed. The Persians press their attack, eager to end the resistance once and for all. Spears pierce the air, swords clash, and the cries of the dying mingle with the roar of battle. But the Spartans stand firm. They fight until their arms are broken, their shields are shattered, and their bodies are drained of strength. And when they finally fall, they do so with their honor intact, their spirits unbroken. As the last Spartan falls, the Persians, though victorious, have suffered heavy losses. Xerxes' dream of a swift and decisive victory has turned into a costly affair. But the king is not one to dwell on setbacks. He consolidates his gains, taking possession of the pass and securing the riches of the fallen Spartans. The Persian army, triumphant but weary, begins its long march south. Though the Spartans have perished at Thermopylae, their sacrifice has not been in vain. By holding the pass, they have bought precious time for the rest of the Greeks to prepare for the coming Persian invasion. While the Spartans paid the ultimate price at Thermopylae, their sacrifice served as a catalyst for the Greek resistance. It galvanized the disparate Greek city-states, forging a sense of unity and purpose that would prove crucial in the years to come. News of the Spartans' valor spread like wildfire across Greece, igniting a spirit of resistance that would not be contained. The Spartans' sacrifice at Thermopylae was a defining moment in Greek history. It exemplified the ideals of courage, self-sacrifice, and unwavering determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Their story became a cornerstone of Greek identity, shaping their culture, their values, and their resistance against tyranny. In the aftermath of Thermopylae, the Greek city-states rallied to the call, uniting under a common purpose to repel the Persian invaders. Though divided on many issues, the Spartans' sacrifice transcended their political and ideological differences, reminding them of the greater good that lay at stake. The legacy of Thermopylae lives on in the hearts and minds of those who admire the courage and sacrifice of the 300 Spartans. Their story continues to inspire awe and wonder, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can triumph. The Battle of Thermopylae was not just a military engagement. It was a clash of civilizations, a testament to the indomitable spirit of man, and a celebration of the courage to stand up against tyranny no matter the cost. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.